Well, again, thank you for joining us on our Wonderful Day in the Lord broadcast. We're looking at the seventh bowl judgment as found in Revelation chapter 16 today. We're looking at verse 17, and the final judgment poured out on the earth before the Lord comes back. And it says in verse 17, and the seventh angel poured out his bowl upon the air, and a loud voice came out of the temple from the throne saying, it is done. So here are the final judgments. It is done. All that the Lord had planned to do has now been completed, and he is in preparation to return to the earth and claim the earth as his own. He says in verse 18, and there were flashes of lightning and sounds and peals of thunder, and there was a great earthquake, such as there has not been since man came upon the earth. So great an earthquake was it, and so mighty. So we have this powerful earthquake, just a real movement of the ground and movement of earth at this time. So we have nothing like has ever happened quite like this before. And so as we move into verse 19, we see the effects on the earth and on the cities from this great earthquake. It says the great city was split into three parts. Now the great city here would be the city of Jerusalem. Would be the great city here. And the cities of the nations fell. So the other cities, but to Babylon, which is the other great nation found in the book of Revelation, which is a picture of fallen humanity, the business, the economics, the worldview, the lifestyle, the spirit of the Antichrist, all is depicted in the city of Babylon. And so here's the other great city, Babylon the Great. So we have the great city, Jerusalem, as split into three parts. Babylon the Great was remembered before God to give her the cup of the wine of his fierce wrath. Now, while we're thinking about these cities, we once again want to go back to Zechariah chapter 14, and this time verse 4. We'll go one verse further than we did last time. And here we see something happening in this area very similar to what's happening in the book of Revelation. Verse 4 says, in that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. So this is the return of Christ. And Christ actually returns and stands on the Mount of Olives outside of Jerusalem, and which is in the front of Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives will be split in the middle from the east to the west by a very large valley, so that the half of the mountain will move towards the north and the other half towards the south. So here's this great earthquake, I think, that the book of Revelation is talking about. And it comes with the coming of Christ himself. As the Lord comes to claim his own, we find that the city itself is split into three parts. This great earthquake takes place on the earth, and Babylon itself falls at this particular time. Now, as we go back to our chapter in Revelation, we continue in verse 20, and every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. So we have a tremendous change in the topography and the geography of this region. Whether this is a picture of everything on earth, the whole earth being rearranged or not, I don't know. It definitely is a rearrangement of that particular area of what we call Palestine today, Jerusalem, Israel, all that area there is going to be radically changed. And that was pictured in a number of places in the Old Testament as well, and Zechariah that I just looked at. So every island fled away. The islands have disappeared. Things have changed. The mountains are not found. Everything's been flattened at this point. And huge hailstorms, stones, verse 21, about 100 pounds each. So 100 or more, depending on the equivalent here in the ancient measurings, were falling. So this is massive, heavy hailstorms. They came down from heaven upon man. So we have all sorts of things happening here. This is kind of like the great crescendo that you might have at a fireworks. You know how they shoot up all the fireworks one after the other, and then right at the end, everything that they have left in their arsenal goes up, and they're just wonderful crescendo at the end. This is kind of God's crescendo at this point. He's already poured out all these wraths, all these judgments upon the earth, and now everything just comes at the end here. And what is, again, the response of the people? Like it has been twice before in this set of judgments. It says, and men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, because its plague was extremely severe. So once again, there's no repentance. There's no turning to God. Rather, we have a blaming God for what has happened. You know, people like to be victims. We see that around us all the time today. We play that game ourselves often. If something goes wrong, it's the referee's fault at a ball game. If something goes wrong in my life, it's somebody else's fault. If I'm a student and I don't get the grade that I think I deserve, it's the teacher's fault. This is the game we play, victimization. And on a much grander scale, a much more serious scale, we have the world blaming God for its problems. These judgments are not necessary. These judgments come only because these people have blasphemed God himself. And so this is what they've done, and they continue to blaspheme him no matter what God has done. What would be a proper reaction to the judgment of God and the grace of God? What would be the proper reaction? I want to look into that with you next time as we finish out this week looking at the bowl judgments in the book of Revelation. So we'll see about that tomorrow. You have a wonderful day in the Lord.